If you want more peace, more happiness, more self respect, there's one simple thing you need to do: stop explaining yourself to everyone around you. Seriously, just stop explaining. See, when you start living differently, when you start walking away from things that don't serve you anymore, when you start chasing your own dreams, something funny and interesting happens. People notice it and they start questioning you, as if they as if you owe an explanation for every choice you make. And if you don't give them one, they fill you up with guilt. And here's the funniest part: it's usually the people closest to you, the ones you care about the most. So, what do? You explain, you justify, you soften your truth until it feels acceptable to everyone else. And you think you're being polite, careful. And the problem is, the more you explain, the more powerless you become. I know it very well because I used to be terrible at this. I used to explain myself all the time. Every decision, every boundary, every silence needed a disclaimer. And why? Because I was always afraid of being misunderstood. Because I wanted people to see me the right way. But the truth is, explaining is not communication, it's a kind of control. And when you explain, you're actually not connecting with them, you're defending. You're trying to make sure no one thinks you're lazy, rude, selfish, or cold. And that's the first reason to stop explaining yourself, because it's not about clarity, it's about control. And the moment you start controlling perception, you're already giving up your peace. And here's another truth: no matter how carefully you explain, people will still hear it through their own filters. If someone is insecure, your silence feels like rejection. If someone's controlling, your boundaries feel like rebellion. If someone's projecting, your growth feels like betrayal. And that's why more words rarely bring more understanding. People don't interpret your message, they interpret their feelings. So the next time you are tempted to justify yourself, remember, you're not fighting misunderstanding, you're fighting projection and control. And that's the battle you'll never win. And over explaining has another cost: it destroys your self trust. Every time you over explain, you're sending your mind a subtle message: my trust isn't strong enough to stand on its own. And over time, your subconscious believes it. You start doubting decisions, rehearsing your words, and living in your head. And you forget that once you trusted yourself without an audience. That's a third reason to stop explaining. Over explaining breeds self doubt. A self doubt is the root of every lost focus, every broken boundary, every relapse into old habits. And if you want clarity, you need to stop treating your peace like it's up for a debate. And here's a fourth truth: every explanation, you're giving your emotional control to the other person. You're letting other people decide if you're right, if you're forgiven, if you're understood. But understanding isn't favor you need from anyone, it's something you owe yourself. You don't need people to agree to be at peace. You just need to know your peace is honest. The more you explain, the more you chase permission from people who never had the authority to give it. Another thing that you don't realize is most people don't want understanding, they want agreement. So when someone asks you to explain yourself, they're often not looking for clarity, they are looking for compliance. They want you to shrink your truth to fit their comfort zone. And that's why boundaries feel like rebellion to them. Sometimes a simple no thank you is more than enough explanation. And the truth is, every explanation invites an argument, and every justification opens a door to debate. Suddenly, your peace is on trial, but silence ends conversations that explanations only prolong. And when you stop defending, the tension deflates because you've taken away the fuel, which is attention. Silence is not weakness, it's a kind of energy management. You're no longer spending peace trying to fix perception. And there's something else. Over explaining drains your creative energy. Every long message, every detailed apology, every rehearsed justification is mental clutter. And clutter is the enemy of clarity. You spent the energy meant for your purpose on people who don't even listen deeply. You can't build a meaningful life if you're constantly explaining life. And maybe the most underrated reason to stop explaining yourself is this: being misunderstood is a natural filter. When you stop explaining, the wrong people drift away. The ones who only liked you when it was convenient will fade. And the ones who matter, they'll stay. Not because you convinced them, but because they can feel your truth. Misunderstanding doesn't destroy alignment, it creates it. And if you're honest with yourself, you'll understand the urge to explain often comes from guilt. Guilt for saying no, guilt for resting, guilt for prioritizing yourself. But guilt doesn't mean you've done something wrong. It often means you're breaking an old rule that no longer fits. You don't need to justify self respect, you don't need to make your healing sound polite. Peace speaks louder than persuasion. When you stop defending and start living, people eventually adjust. Your consistency communicates more than words ever could. Explaining convinces minds, living convinces souls. And if you want people to understand, stop explaining, embody it. More over explaining is just people pleasing in this case. You're not clarifying, you're seeking reassurance. You want them to like you, approve of you, think you're good. But that's not peace. That's a kind of dependency. True calm is holding your truth even when no one else gets it. And the truth is, the right people, they won't need essays. They'll feel your intention without a word. And the wrong people, they'll always want more context. Let silence separate the wrong people. And when you stop explaining, something interesting happens. People start paying attention differently. They listen when you speak, they sense boundaries, they respect your time. Silence commands respect that long explanations never will. So you don't have to be louder, you just have to stop apologizing for being quiet. And over explaining also keeps you tied to the old version of yourself. Every justification is a story about who you used to be, why you changed, why you left, why you stopped. But change doesn't need permission. You can't step into your next chapter while narrating your last one. Sometimes the cleanest evolution is to disappear quietly and let your absence explain itself. And your life isn't a group of discussions. You can love people and live independently. You can take advice without needing approval. And every explanation turns your growth into a committee of meeting. And sometimes explaining itself is just insecurity pretending to be transparency. Ironically, over explaining is the fastest way to lose mystery, and depth thrives in stillness. Silence makes people curious, it gives your decision gravity, and that's where respect begins. You can't explain growth to someone who hasn't grown, or silence to someone who is addicted to noise, or boundaries to someone profiting from your lack of them, or peace to someone who thrives on chaos. And you don't have to. You don't announce you're becoming, you become, and they see it. And some things stay sacred. Not every decision deserves a paragraph. When you stop explaining, you protect your private inner world. That's where intuitions grow, that's where peace regenerates. Not everyone deserves access. Explanations give people emotional access they haven't earned. Logic can't carry what intuition knows. Silence lets the truth settle, people start respecting it, and you recondition relationship dynamics without a word. And that's real power. Explaining keeps you small. Peace built on approval collapses when approval fades. Stop making yourself smaller for those who confuse humility with invisibility. You don't owe anyone a smaller version of your truth. And here's a biggest illusion. Explaining gives no control. You can't control what people think. You can only manage your presence. And presence is louder when you stop narrating it. You also don't owe emotional labor for their confusion. If they don't get you, let them wonder. That wondering might become their growth. Your job is not to convince, it's to live honestly enough that your life becomes its own explanation. Your decisions can't be put into words. Truth doesn't fear misunderstanding. If it's real, it can handle being misread. Time will vindicate it. Misunderstanding is the test your peace passes. And over explaining turns your peace into a public property. Silence makes it private, sacred, big enough to breathe. Every explanation costs presence. You lose time rehearsing, replaying, tweaking. Peace lives in the present. Detach. Freedom isn't doing what you want, it's not needing to justify it. Being understood is optional, being aligned is not. When you walk away, you choose silence without resentment. Peace, presence, boundaries, they're felt, they cannot be explained. And people feel it without words. Your life is the message, you don't translate it. Freedom isn't being understood, it's knowing your truth speaks for itself. Stop explaining, not because people don't deserve understanding, but because you deserve freedom. Live quietly, honestly, without performing. Make choices that don't need footnotes. Rest without apology. Stop explaining yourself, and your presence becomes the explanation. And that's when you know you're not chasing peace anymore. You are peace. If the video resonated with you, please do like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And share it with a friend who needs it. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Have a great day.